What is spirituality? What is a spiritual awakening? Some signs of those to come. Hey everyone, so today we're going to be discussing what is spirituality. If you're a newbie on this journey and you're just starting to basically get some signs about coming up with different ways of looking at the world, coming up with different ways of feeling the world, coming up with different ways you're perceiving your reality and who you are and who you used to be. This is going to be a way of giving you some tips and some insights for some newbies on this journey. I would say kind of where I was a few years ago, and see if these can be helpful for you moving forward. So, what is spirituality? What is a spiritual awakening? Some signs of those to come in different parts of this series that I'm doing. So, in a nutshell, I've realized that a lot of people were asking me a lot of questions on these subjects, so I thought I would relay my experiences on what I've learned over these last 10 years or so, fully diving into a spiritual awakening and a spiritual journey. So spirituality in its most basic sense is the concept, in my opinion, and what I've learned is when you start to realize that like you're more than just your body. The concept of realizing that you are the energy, the spirit, the soul, whatever you gravitate towards, that is also running the show, moving this body, for almost like a robotic sense. It's like it's moving this physical being, but you are not just this physical being, like you are beyond this physical being, the 3D, what we call, and I'll get to that later, but the 3D version of yourself that you see every day. It is almost when you start to question more about your reality, more about your world, more about why you're here. It's usually when people also, sometimes, they come across almost like a crisis. There's usually something that can stem them into questioning more than what they've been used to. A lot of times it can happen to people maybe older. For me, it happened to me around my later 20s when I had a full-blown set of these types of events and questionings and things like that. And it doesn't have to be, obviously, this new generation. I think a lot of the newer generation is questioning these things earlier, and some of them just know straight out the gate from a young age. So this can be for all age groups, obviously. But the biggest thing I would say or take away from is the concept that, in my opinion and my belief and what I've learned, you are more than your physical body. You are a spiritual being, soulful being, having what they call a human experience. Those signs and those questions and those things that you're starting to question or see the world differently, it is for a reason. The belief is that we have come here and that our past memories or past lives, you almost have had a haze, a blockage, a forgetting of who you were and who you used to be and the higher self, and all that you are is way more than this physical sense of yourself. I would say, if you've ever watched The Matrix, that's a huge eye-opening way of looking at your world, is when you start to question things, the red pill, or I believe it was the green pill, and it was just like realizing that you are more than what you have been taught to believe, or that there is way more going on around you energetically behind the scenes, and that the belief that a lot of this is almost like, I'm going to use a word that might be more understandable, because a lot of times it is they use the matrix or the veil, but some people might not really understand what that is. So I'm going to say almost like your perception, almost what you see is just a perception, but it's so much more behind that perception, behind that view. So initially I will keep this short, but if you are questioning those things and you are questioning what this is, you're not alone. There's a huge awakening happening. A big tip will be look up Dolores Cannon. She talks about 3 waves of starseeds and much more deeper dives that I will go to later in this series of videos that I will be doing. But I hope this has given you a glance, or at least an insight, as to knowing that you're not the only one breaking out into this type of questioning realities, distancing from who you were and starting to see the world differently. There's a huge collective of us, huge collective of what we like to call starseeds, lightworkers, and I will branch out more into those areas if that's all new to you. But what I hope to be here is a help, a guide, however way that I can be to help those that were maybe where I was about 10 years ago, newer to spirituality, newer to these concepts, newer to my own awakening, and found people helpful when I was questioning things, and also kind of was alone through a lot of it. So I would have liked to have more help back then. So maybe those who are drawn to that will understand that concept, and these will be helpful. So I would love to know if you found this. I would say maybe connecting, if you found it maybe relieving for yourself, maybe knowing that, okay, you're not going crazy. There is a reason why this is happening. And if you want to know more, I'm going to do more in this series, more on this channel, so you can hit that notification bell and the subscription button and I will basically be putting more of these out, and you'll get notified when they get put out on the channel. So until then, I wish you well on your journey. Take it one step at a time, because I know it can start to seem very overwhelming and you want to dive into a lot of things. Take it bit by bit, because it can be very overwhelming. And